The International Regulation for Preventing Collision at Sea, 1972, are published by the International Maritime Organization and set out, among other things, the rules of the road or the navigational rules to be followed by the ship and other vessels at sea to prevent collision between two or more vessels. Colregs can also refer to a specific political line that divides inland waterways, which are subject to their own navigation rules, and coastal waterways, which are subject to international navigation rules. The aim of the collision regulations is to establish rules to avoid collision at sea. The increasing number of ships and condensed traffic on the sea lines of communication makes the colregs rather important for safety of the seas.
Rule number 1, Application. Colreg shall apply to all vessels upon high seas and all waters connected to the high seas and navigable by sea-going vessels. Colreg shall not interfere with rules made by an appropriate authority for roadsteads, rivers, harbors, lakes, or inland waterways. They must seek to pilot books, sailing direction, or guide to port entry. Colreg will not interfere with operation of government with respect to additional station or signal lights, shapes, or whistle signals of vessels such as warships, fleet of fishing vessel, aircraft carriers, submarines, floating docks, and derricks. Traffic separation schemes may be adopted by the organization in this rule. Colreg grants special permission for vessels of special construction that can show the normal configuration of their lights and shapes to comply with the rules. But they should try to be as close as possible to the standards of the international Colregs.
Rule 2. Responsibility. Nothing in these rules shall exonerate any vessel or the owner, master, or crew thereof from the consequence of any neglect to comply on these rules or of the neglect of any precaution which may be required by the ordinary practice of seamen or by the special circumstances of the case. In construing and complying with these rules, due regard shall be had to all dangers of navigation and collision and to any special circumstances, including the limitation of the vessels involved which make a departure from these rules necessary to avoid immediate danger.
Rule 2, Responsibility. You are always responsible for collision. State that when complying with the rules, you should pay particular attention to all dangers of navigation, like shallow waters, narrow or restricted sea room, and collision, and to any special circumstances of the case which may make it necessary for you to deviate from the rules in order to avoid immediate danger. And also, it covers the responsibility for the master, owner, and crew to comply with the rules during loading, unloading, and safe navigation through sea.
Rule 3, General Definitions. The word vessel includes every description of watercraft, including non-displacement craft, weak craft, and seaplanes used or capable of being used as means of transportation on water. The term power-driven vessel means any vessel propelled by machinery. The term sailing vessel means any vessel under sail, provided that the propelling machinery is fitted, is not being used. The term vessel engaged in fishing means any vessel fishing with nets, lines, trawls, or other fishing apparatus which restrict maneuverability but does not include a vessel fishing with trolling lines or other fishing apparatus which do not restrict maneuverability. The word seaplane includes any aircraft designed to maneuver on water. The term vessel not under command means a vessel which, through some exceptional circumstances, is unable to maneuver as required by these rules and is therefore unable to keep out of the way of another vessel. The term vessel restricted in her ability to maneuver means a vessel which, from the nature of her work, is restricted in her ability to maneuver. A vessel engaged in laying, servicing, or picking up navigational mark, submarine, cable, or pipeline. A vessel engaged in dredging, surveying, or underwater operation. A vessel engaged in replenishment or transferring persons, provisions, or cargo while underway. A vessel engaged in launching or recovery of aircraft. A vessel engaged in mine clearance operation. A vessel engaged in a towing operation such as severely restrict the towing vessel and her tow in their ability to deviate from their course. The term vessel constrained by her drought means power-driven vessel which, because of her drought in relation to available depth and width of navigable water, is severely restricted in her ability to deviate from the course she is following. The word underway means that a vessel is not anchored or made fast to shore or aground. The word length and breadth of a vessel mean her length overall and greatest breadth. Vessels shall be deemed to be a sight of one another only when one can observe visually or the other from the other. The term restricted visibility means any condition in which visibility is restricted by fog, mist, falling snow, heavy rainstorms, sandstorms, or any other similar causes. The term wing in ground or wig craft means a multimodal craft which in its main operational mode flies in close proximity to the surface by utilizing surface effect action.
Rule 4. Application. Rules in this section apply in any condition of visibility. In other words, if there is zero visibility and the vessel does not have the instrument to proceed safely, the speed of the watercraft should be reduced and course correction must be made until adequate vision is restored for the safe operation of the vessel.
Rule 5 requires that every vessel shall at all times maintain a proper lookout by sight and hearing as well as by all available means appropriate in the prevailing circumstances and conditions so as to make a full appraisal of the situation and of the risk of the collision. The rule number 5 simply means that we need to be alert at all the time if we are lookout to avoid collision. That's it. And to avoid accident and tragedy and to make us safe because of the lookout.
Rule 6. Safe speed. Every vessel shall at all times proceed at a safe speed so that she can take a proper and effective action to avoid a collision and be stopped within a distance appropriate to the prevailing circumstances and conditions. In determining the safe speed, the following factors shall be among those taken into account. A. By all vessel. Number 1. The state of visibility. The traffic and density, including concentration of fishing vessel and any other vessel. Number 3. The maneuverability of the vessel with special reference to stopping distance and turning ability in prevailing action. Number 4. At night, the presence of background light, such as for shore lights from backscatter of her own light. Number 5. State of wind, sea, and current, and the approximately of navigational hazard. Number 6. The drought in relation ability and depth of water. Letter B. Additionally, by vessel with operational radar. Number 1. Characteristic, efficiency, and limitation of the radar equipment. Number 2. Any constraint imposed by the radar range, scale, and use. Number 3. The effect of radar detection of sea state, weather, and other source of interference. Number 4, possibility that small vessel, ice, and other floating object may not be detected by the radar at an adequate range. Number 5, the number, location, or movement of vessel detected by radar. Number 6, the more exact assessment of visibility that may be possible when radar is in use to determine the range of the vessel or other object in the vicinity. So here, Rule 6 is all about all vessels should be able to stop from a speed before colliding with another vessel or a running ground. It is good to practice to be stopped fully half the distance of visibility so that you can have plenty of time to react to danger.
Rule number 7. Risk of collision. Every vessel shall use all available means appropriate to the prevailing circumstances and conditions to determine if risk of collision exists. If there is any doubt, such risk shall be deemed to exist. Proper use shall be made of radar equipment, if fitted and operational, including long-range scanning to obtain early warning of risk of collision and radar plotting or equivalent systematic observations of detected objects. Assumptions shall not be made of the basis of scanty information, especially scanty radar information. In determining if risk of collision exists, the following considerations shall be among those taken into account. Such risk shall be deemed to exist if the compass bearing of an approaching vessel does not appreciably change. Such risk may sometimes exist even when appreciable bearing change is evident, particularly when approaching a very large vessel or a tow or when approaching a vessel at
Any action taken to avoid collision shall be taken in accordance with the rules of this part and shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, be positive, made in ample time and with due regard to the observance of good seamanship. Any alteration of course or speed to avoid collision shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, be large enough to be readily apparent to another vessel, observing visually or by radar. A succession of small alteration of course and or speed should be involved. In this example, vessel B can clearly see that vessel A has made a large alteration of course by night or day, as the other vessel aspect will be noticeable change. And vessel A makes an alteration of course and as soon as you identify a risk of collision, you must identify the correct action to avoid collision. To ensure the vessel will pass at a safe distance, you should then take that action to avoid collision as soon as it is appropriate to do so. Action to avoid collision should always be positive. Make a big alteration of course and speed. Made in good time, which means early. Seaman-like. Do not make the situation worse for any other ship in the vicinity. Assess what they may have to do. Easily seen by other ship. Avoid a series of small alteration of course and speed. Remember, a substantial alteration made early is better than a very large alteration made late. The closer you are to the other vessel, the greater the risk of collision, and the more you will have to do to pass at a safe distance. A vessel traveling at a speed of 20 knots will cover 1 mile every 3 minutes. Small alteration of course and speed are dangerous. They do not often solve the problem and they do not give the other vessel a clear indication of what you are doing. Remember to make appropriate sound and light signal. You should confirm your action to avoid collision by monitoring the change in CPA. Keep taking compass bearing and checking the situation until the risk of collision is over. And remember your engine. If your ability to alter course is constrained, then slow down or stop IRPCS Rule number 8.
Rule 9. Narrow channels. Number 1. A vessel proceeding along the course of a narrow channel or fairway shall keep as near to the outer limit of the channel or fairway which lies on her starboard side as if safe and practicable. Number 2. A vessel of less than 20 meters in length or a vessel shall not impede the passage of a vessel which can safely navigate only within a narrow channel or fairway. 3. A vessel engaged in fishing shall not impede the passage of any other vessel navigating within a narrow channel or fairway. 4. A vessel shall not cross a narrow channel or fairway. Such crossing impedes the passage of a vessel which can safely navigate only within such channel or fairway. The latter vessel may use the sound signal prescribed in Rule 34D. If in doubt as to intention of the crossing vessel, number 1, in a narrow channel or fairway when overtaking can take place only if the vessel to be overtaken has to take action to permit safe passing. The vessel intending to overtake shall indicate her intention by sounding the appropriate signal prescribed in Rule 34C. Number 1. The vessel to be overtaken shall, if in agreement, sound the appropriate signal prescribed in Rule 34C and take steps to permit safe passing. If in doubt, she may sound the signals prescribed in 34D. This rule does not relieve the overtaking vessel of her obligation under Rule 30. Number 5. A vessel nearing a bend or an area of a narrow channel or fairway where other vessels may be obscured by an intervening obstruction shall sound the appropriate signal prescribed in 36. Any vessel shall, if the circumstances of the case admit, avoid anchoring in a narrow channel.
Rule number 10. Traffic Separation Schemes, or TSS. These rules aims to reduce the risk of collision in congested area. And one of the example country in congested area and has the traffic separation schemes is SIMR. The purpose of providing principles traffic separation schemes is to improve the safety of navigation in the area where traffic density is high or traffic restricted. Rule 10 states that ships crossing traffic lanes are required to do so as nearly as applicable at right angles to the general direction of the traffic flows. The reduced confusion to other ships as to the crossing vessels, intentions and course, and at the same time enables that vessel to cross the lane as quickly as possible. Traffic separation scheme have three parts, and these parts are traffic separation zone, traffic lane, inshore zone. Traffic separation zone is a zone lane that separate in which ships are proceeding in opposite direction. This is like a traffic lane in the land that is yellow continuous lane to separate the lane of the vehicles. This zone reduces the incident or accident in congested area. The vessel using traffic separation schemes or TSS should proceed in the appropriate traffic lane, keep clear in the traffic separation zone area. When joining or leaving traffic zone or traffic lane, make a small angle only. The vessel less than 20 meters in length, fishing vessel and sailing vessel should not use TSS or impede the passage of the vessel required in TSS. But they are allowed in inshore traffic zone. Vessel engaged in fishing can use traffic zone. Do not use separation zone, but if and only if you are in emergency or danger situation. ram or vessel restricted in the ability maneuver is exempted in this rule. Anchoring must also avoided in traffic separation sim.
Rule number 11, Application. In this section applies to vessels in sight of one another. Rule 11 under the section 2, and it's the first rule under this section, talks about conduct of vessels in sight of one another. So basically, rules in this section apply to vessels which are in sight of one another. So rule number 11 begins section 2 and contains rule 11 called the way to rule number 18. And if you want to know what it means, when vessels are in sight of another, you can refer to rule number 3. Part K says that vessels shall be deemed to be in sight of one another only when one can visually observe the other, and this is where rule number 11 to 18 apply when each vessel can see each other.
Sailing vessel. When the two sailing vessels are approaching one another so as to involve risk of collision, one of them shall keep out of the way of the other as follows. When each has the wind on a different side, the vessel which has the wind on the port side should keep out of the way. When both have the wind on the same side, the vessel which is to windward should keep out of the way of the vessel which is to leeward. If the vessel with the wind on the port side sees a vessel to windward and cannot determine with certainty whether the other vessel have the wind on the port or on the starboard side, she shall keep out of the way of the other. For the purpose of this rule, the wind side shall be deemed to be the side opposite to that on which the mainsail is carried, or in the case of the square-rigged vessel, the side opposite of that on which the largest fore and aft sail is carried.
Rule 13, overtaking. The importance of Rule 13. A. A vessel shall be deemed to be overtaking when coming up with another vessel from a direction more than 22.5 degrees. A bump hair beam that is in shall be a position with references to the another vessel shall is overtaking that an night shield will be available to see only stern light of the vessel but neither or here. And letter B, overtaking the vessel that wish to the overtake is the give way the vessel. The vessel begin overtake is the stand-on vessel. The stand-on vessel maintain course and speed. The giveaway vessel must take early and substance action. Avoid the stand-on vessel. Letter C. According with the Rule 9, narrow channel or far away wind overtaking can take place only if the has take action to permit has safe passing that vessel intending to overtake the vessel A shall indicate her in to tension vessel B. And letter D.
stand-on vessel. If you are the stand-on vessel, it is your responsibility to action knowledge and indicate the action of the give way vessel. You must also maintain your current course and speed until the give way vessel passing on your inner dangerous situation. And letter E, a narrow channel overtaking should normally taking place on the port side. Port side has the vessel. Beginning overtaking should be astern as practicable on the starboard side of the channel. Overtaking is the far situation that required careful. You should never assume anything, always pass the safe distance. And letter F, last, when two power driven vessels are crossing has to involve resolution, the vessel which has the other on her on starboard side shall keep out of the way and shall if the assumption of the case admin avoid crossing ahead of the other vessel.
Rule 14. Head-on situation. When two power-driven vessels meeting on reciprocal or nearly reciprocal courses so as to involve risk of collision, each shall alter her course to start with so that each shall pass on the port side of the other. So let's have a closer look of the wording. 10 power-driven vessel. This means vessel propelled by their machinery. So Rule 14 does not apply to sailing when sailing vessels have their own steering rules under Rule 12 when they have meeting on reciprocal or nearly reciprocal courses. So this is 180 degrees of opposite to the other boat. Another important point of the rule applies when is a risk of collision. So two vessels heading towards each other, they are going to each other. Rule 14 does not apply only in the risk collision. Vessel shall alter courses to make board of the starboard so that they can pass port to port with the other vessel. Here's an example. Then yellow vessel and nether vessel boarding into each other's reciprocal courses to risk of collision. Therefore, they should make a board and early starboard and pass port to port. Such a situation shall be deemed to exist there the vessel sees the other ahead or nearly ahead by the much should be must headlight of the other vessel line up nearly and the line of both side lights, and they to observe the corresponding aspect of other vessel. Let's some of the lights. Then here we can here definitely head on that so vessel because can you both must headlight facing as to port and starboard light as the vessel turns into port. Light is steering become views of the mast. Headlights are opening up once the vessel complete their turn. We see two mast headlight and starboard light. Only we can longer see the port light. The reason for the port starboard light only visible 1.5 degrees each alter of the wood-like vessel run further is wood stern like deadly ahead of the vessel in order to able to port and starboard lights. When a vessel is any doubt of the weather situation exists, the assume and to thus exist accordingly thus same of the other steering rules. Section 2. If there's any doubt, anything, there's many risks of collision, you should have a giveaway and avoid the collision at cost of again and reference back to the rule 2.
Rule 15 of the Collision Avoidance Regulation applies only to power-driven vessels and only when they are in sight of one another. When two power-driven vessels are crossing and lights leads to collide, the vessel vacancy V, the other ships to starboard keeps out of the way. The giveaway vessel should also course to starboard and pass behind or slow down and let the other ship pass ahead. The giveaway vessel should avoid passing ahead of the other ship as this may be dangerous. It is good practice to turn early and look around. Ensure no other vessels in the area are affected by your decision. If you are doubt, call the captain.
Rule 16. Every vessel which is directed to keep out of the way of another vessel shall, so far as possible, take early and substantial action to keep well clear. Here's the list illustration of Rule 16. Basically, in Rule 16, the only rule talks about giving way to the standard vessel so there will be no collision or to avoid accidents that might happen unexpectedly. If all vessels are taking actions and following the rules, there will be no accidents across the voyage and the navigation will run smoothly. The giveaway vessel must take early and substantial action to avoid crossing in front of another vessel. So, vessel 2, it alters to starboard side and adjusts its speed appropriately. Rule 16 is one of the shortest rules, but it makes life easier to other seafarers. The basic points are: do not hesitate, alter course or speed early, do not make small alterations, only a big alteration of course or speed will show the other vessel exactly what you are doing. Do not assume anything. Keep checking the CPA and keep taking compass bearings to make sure your action has desired effect. Keep everybody safe. Following the Rule 16 makes life easier for all vessels. If the other vessel is happy with your alterations, there is less chance of doing something unexpected or terrible actions to be taken. Treat other vessels as you would like to be treated yourself. Good seamanship includes courtesy and common sense. In summary, all in all, always give way to stand-on vessel early, with clearly and courteously.
Rule number 17 of Colrex or action by stand-on vessel. It deals with the action of the stand-on vessel, including the provision that the stand-on vessel may take action to avoid collision by her maneuver alone, as soon as it becomes apparent to her that the vessel required to keep out of the way is not taking appropriate action. It is where one of two vessels is to keep out of the way, the other shall keep her course and speed. The latter vessel may, however, take action to avoid the collision by her maneuver alone. As soon as it becomes apparent to her that the vessel required to keep out of the way is not taking appropriate action in compliance with these rules. When, from any cause, the vessel required to keep her course and speed finds herself so close that the collision cannot be avoided by the action of the giveaway vessel alone, she shall take such action as will best aid to avoid collision. A power-driven vessel which takes action in a crossing situation in accordance with paragraph of this rule to avoid collision with another power-driven vessel shall, if the circumstances at the case admit, not alter course to port for a vessel on her own port side. This rule does not relieve the giveaway vessel of her obligation to keep out of the way.
Rule 18. Responsibility between vessel. Refer to the hierarchy of the vessel that apply in the open sea in the hierarchy that vessel below shall keep out of the way of the vessel above it. A vessel constrained by her graph shall navigate carefully because of the special condition a WING craft or weak craft is considered as a power-driven vessel. Rule 18. Power meets sail. In generally, power vessels have to keep out of the way of sailing and fishing vessels, and vessels that are curbed by such tasks as rigging, cable laying, and so on.
Rule 19. Conduct of vessel in restricted visibility. A. These rules applies to vessel not in sight of one another when navigating in or near an area of restricted visibility. Meaning that these rules applies to such vessels that may be close to each other but cannot visually see each other. Electronic devices and sound signals may be the one only visible means of detective and thus the action that would be taken would not be visible by the other vessel. The areas are not only in areas of poor visibility but also areas near to that, meaning that ships should be careful when approaching a fog bank or an area of poor visibility caused maybe by another weather or other condition. B. Every vessel shall proceed at a safe speed adapted to prevailing circumstances and conditions of restricted visibility. A power-driven vessel shall have here engines ready for immediate maneuver. C. Every vessel shall have due regard to the prevailing circumstances and conditions of restricted visibility when complying with the rules of Section I of this part. D. A vessel which detect by radar along the presence of another vessel shall determine if a close quarters situation is developing and or risk of collision exists. If so far, she shall take avoiding action in a sample time, provided that when such action consists of alteration in course, so far as possible the following shall be avoided. I. An alteration of course to port for a vessel forward of the beam other than for a vessel being overtaken. Meaning, in restricted visibility, when the vessel cannot see each other as required by the rules. The above are to complied with. Of course, alternation of course to port has been advised against, and it should be followed as practicable if the situation deems that an alteration of course other than the port is required, then that may be done. E. Except for it has been determined that a risk of collision does not exist. Every vessel which here apparently forward of her beam the fog signal of another vessel, or which she cannot avoid a close quarters situation with another vessel forward of her beam, shall reduce her speed to be the minimum as which she cannot be kept on her course. She shall, if necessary, take all her way up, and in any event navigating with extreme caution until danger of collision is over.
Rules in this part shall be complied with in all weathers. Second, the rules concerning lights shall be complied with from sunset to sunrise, and during such times no other lights be exhibited, except such lights as cannot be mistaken for the light specific in these rules, or do not impair their visibility, or distinctive character, or interfere with the keeping of proper lookout. Third, the light is prescribed by this rule shall, if carried, also be exhibited from sunrise to sunset in restricted visibility, and may be exhibited in all other circumstances when it deemed necessary. So, fourth, the rules concerning shapes shall be complied with by day. And fifth, the lights and shapes specified in this rule shall comply with provisions of Annex 1 to this regulation. So the example, a vessel engaged in fishing shall not impede the passage of any vessel following a traffic lane. A vessel of less than 20 meters in length or a sailing vessel shall not impede the safe passage of the power-driven vessel following a traffic lane. So these are the example. I'm going to show you the picture about the all weathers and the other lights, sounds, etc. So that's all. It's all the pictures I have for my example. So the first picture shown how how the light and day shape work, and the second picture is the light. It include the vessel and the meter. So the lastly, that's the shape, day shapes. Thank you.